today you're listening to Monday with the Mayor here on 18 WJTS, and today we're on the phone with Ferdinand Town Manager Chris James. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for making me a part of the broadcast, Ann. I appreciate that.
Of course, and we understand that there's a lot of work underway with the proposed bike and pedestrian trail.
There is. We've had we've had three. Had to count in my head for a second. We've had three kind of planning meetings trying to figure out what each community wants to do in terms of its own internal trails and how possibly to connect what either exists or is set to be constructed into more of a county-wide plan of attack. We've got a public hearing coming up the first week of May, I believe May 6th, at the atrium of the Tim Clark Cultural Center. And at that time, folks will be able to see some mapping of proposed routes. And there's about 3 different phases of routes depending on what road you're working with. Some are designated for pedestrian only. Some are bike only. Some are bike and pedestrian, depending on the section of road that you're looking at. Some of them would also be using shared paths, which would be the bike and pedestrian, where it would run kind of parallel to an existing roadway. This plan does not supersede any of the existing plans in a particular community, whether in Ferdinand, Huntingburg, Jasper, Holland, whomever may actually be working on an internal plan. This does not override that. The communities will still put together their plans as they have so designed. This is a way of enhancing those and possibly connecting multiple points. Jasper to Huntingburg connection is one that's being looked at, and there's a way possibly with some of the planned expansion of the Huntingburg trails and the Jasper trails to find a way to connect those. Same way trying to connect Ferdinand to Huntingburg or Ferdinand to Jasper using 162 and assorted other routes. So there's a lot of planning and discussing going on right now in terms of the different options. We try to connect up with about every point within the county, all the way up into the Du Bois area, Hayesville section, Portersville, down to Holland, the Ferdinand State Forest, Patoka Lake, and in a sense points in between. Again, the more official mapping will be on display at that special public meeting on May the 6th, and folks will be able to come by and kind of lay eyes on the plan and provide their thoughts on, do they agree with what's there? Do they disagree? Do they feel there's a need for it? Or if there is a need, what's their preference point? And a chance for the public to obviously put their 2 cents worth in. And once that happens, the planners will go back, the committee will meet again, we'll take all of that input, and we'll really be able to fine-tune the next step in the process, whatever that may be, and then proceed from there with a couple of more internal meetings, and then another public session later on in the summer or fall, depending on how the scheduling flows. So we hope to have some definitive answer or a better defined answer probably by summertime as to how this project will go forward.
And speaking of the community, the proposed 2021 Summer Parks and Recreation Program, tell us more about that and if it will even go on this summer.
Well, the plan as of right now, knock on wood, I received permission from Town Council at our most recent meeting to reinstitute the program. Obviously, last year, COVID worked its little magic and caused the program to be called off, along with about anything else that went on in any community last year. But we are intending to bring the program back this year, but in a little bit more of a modified version. In past years, we would have 1 2-hour block of time, 9 to 11 a.m. at 18th Street Park, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, where kids would be able to participate in the different programs. We're going to hold that schedule Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but we're breaking it into 2 sections from 9 till approximately 10:15, and then 10:45 until noon. And we'll have limited numbers. We're looking probably 15 to 16 kids per session instead of just a free-for-all 30 to 40 kids at one time. It makes it easier for the summer employees to monitor the kids, try to maintain spacing as best as we can. Some of the requirements this year, we're going to ask that the kids be pre-registered for the program instead of just showing up day of and participating as a way of trying to maintain our numbers. We're going to ask that the parents, guardians, and such get the kids pre-registered in the program, and then on the day of, say, a Tuesday morning session, when the kids arrive, the parent or guardian, the babysitter, they will need to sign the kids in initially. We've got a sheet that we use for our public meetings, council meetings, and such. We don't do the thermometer checks anymore, but we do a sign-in sheet. And you put your name and a contact number on. In the event that there would be an incident of some type, we have a way of contacting the people who were participating. We're going to transition that into the Park and Rec program as well. So when Ann brings her kids over on that particular morning, you sign in those particular kids and a contact point, and then go about your business. And then if we have an incident, we can contact you and say, there was a situation, please be advised, and try to follow protocols from there. If kids do not get signed in, they will not be allowed to participate in the program. We don't want kids to just kind of be dropped off and the parent or guardian head on back home and then they come back in a couple of hours. We are going to require the kids be signed up to be able to participate. It's for their good and for the monitoring position from the employee side of it, and then also that half-hour gap between the first and second session that will allow our employees to kind of wipe down and sanitize the crafting area from the first group to the second, just to take every step that we can to make it as safe and as enjoyable as possible and still be able to host the program. The program will run the first week of June, tail end of May, first part of June, until the last week of July or the first week of August. Still trying to fine-tune the calendar on that, depending on when school resumes. We want to make sure that the kids and our employees have time to enjoy summer break a little bit before jumping right back into school, be it high school or moving on into the college level. So we're looking at about a 2-month window, and we're just wanting to have the programming back. I've taken several calls and public comments from folks asking, hey, are you going to do the program this year? This is our way of trying to get back at least one little chunk of normal ground, the way we did things, even though it's going to be run differently this year, to try to get back into more of the traditional routine from pre-COVID times.
Yeah, definitely. And as you're preparing for that, you're also preparing for the upcoming Ferdinand Folk Festival this year.
Yes, we are. The committee is meeting. We've met a couple of times already. We've got another session coming up in the next couple of weeks' time. We are putting the final touches on our musical acts, and as soon as we have everything locked into place on that, we will be doing a big press release saying we've got X, Y, and Z to perform this year. That will allow us to move forward in terms of our merchandising, the hatch prints, the posters that we put together every year, and just to get the vendor word out. And I'm going to be doing an email blast to our 2019 vendors, letting them know, hey, we're open for business. Shoot us an application back. Let us know that you want to participate or not, and we can plan from there. But we're moving it ahead. I wouldn't necessarily say full speed ahead, but at a moderate speed ahead, just because of everything. But the plan is to have the third Saturday in September, the 18th of September, be the 11th Ferdinand Folk Festival, and I anticipate not just with the Folk Fest, but any of the events in the communities, be it Strassenfest or Herbs Fest or Heimat Fest or any of the other events, because they were all called off last year. I expect there to be a pent-up demand from the public to participate in those programs this year. So we're looking forward to some some big turnout, if it were, as hopefully the weather will allow and other circumstances out of our control will allow. But we're anticipating another really big, good day of activity at 18th Street Park in Ferdinand.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Well, I appreciate the call, Ann, and I do want to remind folks that this week is the townwide yard sales in Ferdinand, so check your local mapping publication to figure out what are the hot spots to follow. And then next week, the town is going to be doing its clean sweep days. Monday is our regular trash day on May 3rd. On Tuesday, the 4th, we'll be hitting the west side of town, west of 162. Then Wednesday and Thursday of next week, we'll be hitting the east side of town. So make sure you have all of your non-sold yard sale items or other memorabilia, as it were, setting out at curbside on your particular day, and we'll be through to pick up those items. All the price of admission to participate is 4 Ferdinand trash stickers on your stack of accumulated items, and we will pick those up and help you clean out your basement and bring a little bit of funding into the town through the sale of some extra trash stickers.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Ann.
Today you've been listening to Monday with the Mayor here on 18 WJTS, and today we've been on the phone with Ferdinand Town Manager Chris James. Thanks for tuning in. This is 18 WJTS, local people watching local people.